And we may have a couple more jump in, so just uh, bear with me as far as that, but we'll be good. Fix my screen, keeps rolling. And again, this topic it may be pretty familiar with you, or you've heard some of these concepts before. But I wanted to try to get all the, and again, I'll send out a new questionnaire. I think I've hammered through all. I usually take the top 10 and get those taken care of. And this was one of the topics that was on there. So we will get another survey out soon and see if there's other topics you guys want to address in the nutritional realm. So what we're going to talk about is, having variety really to try to stay on task, avoid, I mean, some food boredom, but there will be some concepts and things that, uh, that have to be within some boundaries that you may repeat meals and things of that nature. But, how to stay consistent without feeling like obviously dieting. It's really not dieting. It's like eating more appropriate for your specific goals. So many times what we've seen with plans that fail, again, it's not a motivational issue. It becomes they get bored, overwhelmed, feel restricted. All these thought processes or things come in play. Meal prep becomes exhausting. They don't want to eat what they have available. I mean, I've even even with myself sometimes like, I don't want that, but it was already made. So you fight that, right? And then some people try to make it too complicated, create too much variety and too quickly before they have, some basis and foundational components in place. Or again, they follow specific meal plans that are not realistic. And that's what, we have the ability to give you guys meal plans, but it's over the years, it's never been a successful tool. So, we have it as an option. Our goal is really to, educate you with the skill set to be able to navigate most situations. And then here's what we see. Like, hey, when you start something new, and this is in general, you're highly motivated first week, and then, sorry, you guys. Um, First week motivated, second week, we're still following the plan. We're looking at third. You get in that third week, and people start talking about being bored and hitting the wall, right? And then cravings increase, off track, start over again or start something new. Again, we don't. We've seen this, but obviously we try to keep you guys between the guardrails in our program and give you, and help guide you when some of these things appear. And this doesn't happen to everyone. I see that I've seen this more with programs and things that are much more strict with the nutritional component. What I'm saying there is follow really heavy restrictive plans or unrealistic plans. So, what happens is you can confuse like consistency with restriction. It's not necessarily correct. And then another thing that we've seen and is almost if somebody has too much variety, more variety equals better nutrition. Not necessarily. Um, Too much variety can create what do I have? What do I make? And again, we want to simplify the process. There's no reason to make it more complicated. So more grocery shopping, less consistency, higher calorie intake, less adherence. So more food options available, the more people tend to eat or overeat or overconsume or fall off or not stick with the calorie ranges they're set up for. So we'll run into some issues there. Again, by simplifying the process, we can kind of minimize or eliminate decision fatigue. Obviously, you have a lot on your plate anyway, right? There's so many things going on, moving parts. So when nutrition is required, obviously constant planning, creativity, constant meal choices can become exhausting, or you get overwhelmed or feel overwhelmed with the process. Then you go, what do you revert back to? Some habits and things that maybe weren't serving in the first place, or convenient foods, which not all the time, but many times go into more calorie dense foods. So that's when we can get ourselves into those old patterns again. And I would always, and I still, when I talk to clients about nutrition, we're creatures of habit, and we typically have X amount of foods we consistently eat. And it's just a matter of finding those rhythmic patterns that that you feel comfortable and satisfied with, that fall within the ranges you need to move the needle. So many times people eat similar breakfasts or breakfast, and they may rotate, which we'll talk about. Same thing with lunches. You know, that's what we do. I mean, we're pretty cyclical, and we tried to simplify the process for ourselves as well, because if again, just like I just the last couple slides, too many options, too many things going on, it's going to be a little bit more overwhelming. Don't make it more complicated. Obviously, systems reduce stress, consistency creates results. Complexity can create inconsistency. Now, don't get me wrong, some people really enjoy the process, and looking up recipes and trying different recipes, and that's fine. Obviously, if you have the skill set, the time, where it doesn't become overwhelming, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, again, we understand within nutritional coaching in our program, trying to simplify things for you guys is one of the most important. Not always, obviously, we want it to be healthy and things of that nature. So there's always a push or pull. So really the goal is structured variety. So what does that look like? I mean, obviously, you guys probably already have some of this within your natural rhythmic patterns. It's just a matter of, hey, are we consuming, the right amount of, proteins, and are we consuming the right amount of calorie intake, things like that. So again, that's where we try to simplify it. And here's some examples where you can start to build systems that make sense for you. You can call it meal plan. You can call it this is just a made up really name for this. So don't take it as it's some new system, because most of it you've heard of these concepts. Uh, so and again, you got to figure out what makes sense for you and your family. So instead of like recipes, you can create different systems to simplify the process. So proteins, carbs, veggies, fats, mix match as needed. Again, this is really simple. This is like taking macros and pulling all the numbers out of it and saying, okay, we're just going after obviously the the types of macro foods, right? We're just using foods instead of the macro word, if you really think about that concept. So here's a simple example. Obviously, you want to have your protein. What does that look like for you? And then these two you can interchange when you say carbohydrate and or vegetable. You don't have to have a fully carbohydrate that is rice, potato, oats, fruit. It can be more of a veggie, and that can take the place of the carbohydrate, because it's technically a carbohydrate. And then healthy fats are pretty easy to consume for the most part. Obviously, there's certain fats that we need to consume more of that we may have to take a supplementation for. But this is just an example. You just start breaking it down, what makes sense for you. So the benefits, less planning, faster meal prep. And again, you can choose one or two meals to do this with. And obviously, some of the other meals you may want to go more specific with different recipes. But this is going to allow you to have a little bit more flexibility, better adherence. It's really a version of meal prep in a simple format. So example, so Monday. Chicken, rice, broccoli. Tuesday, chicken, potatoes, and then green beans. Then Wednesday, chicken, rice, and salad. So again, figuring out what rhythmic pattern is going to allow you to stay within your specific guardrails without burning yourself out, without feeling like you get too bored. Because I'll talk about different spices and things that you can add to really change the taste patterns of the food. And we do that quite often. So this would be, again, this is like a version of macros and just going after the food. So fat loss plate would be protein, vegetables, controlled carbohydrates. You just heard me talk about that. So I would even say, hey, let's do proteins and veggies and then healthy fats, and you're okay because you're technically vegetables are going to be in your carbohydrate ranges. So that's what you're taking in with the veggies. Again, you don't have to have sweet potato. You can do grilled chicken, double down the broccoli, and have some olive oil, and you'll be okay with that. Um, if you feel like you need, obviously, and like, and you stay within the calorie range, you can add the sweet potato in. Again, it's a preference component. And it's just an easy way to manipulate your carbohydrate intake as well, because you're going to see it here when you talk about performance. If somebody's performing at and this, when we say performance, we're talking about burning more carbohydrates. So you're going to be burning more calories when somebody's talking about performance. And we typically don't push people into these realms until they get close to their ideal percentage of body fat, because then it's easier for us to pull back or push forward in the calories and keep you closer to your ultimate goal. Because the closer we get down to our ultimate goal in percentage of body fat, the more flexibility we'll have in those areas. So we play around with more performance. If somebody wanted to put in really go into a specific program where they're trying to put on a good amount of lean tissue, we may manipulate into the performance because carbohydrates are getting utilized more. But higher carbohydrate intake, moderate fat, high protein, steak, rice, vegetables, fruit. That's just an example of manipulating your macros. Here's an example of somebody who's on the go, which I know all of you guys, have full plates from that standpoint. It's convenient. So rotisserie chicken, the microwave rice, steamed vegetables. Again, we can start getting into the okay, are some of these components less healthy? It may be, but again, can we get you from point A to point B if we had to? I'm not saying we should always consume certain, like obviously rotisserie chicken typically has more in it because how they prepare it. Now, obviously, you can get and have to do a little bit of research on rotisserie chicken to make sure that you're getting a little bit cleaner, less chemical components added to it, less salt, things of that nature. Um, but again, that's another whole topic. Biggest thing is getting the structure within your lifestyle and making it as simple as possible so you stay on track. Um, Again, you don't have to stop creating meals. It's just start creating systems that allow you to stay on track with your nutrition. So, the breakfast rotation Monday through Friday. Here's an example. You could, a protein shake, eggs, fruit, repeat. Again, figuring out what makes sense. And many times, breakfast can be easy one for most people. Uh, but sometimes if you feel like you get burnt out on a shake, you can change and rotate that way you keep consistency. So again, when you put systems and things in place, it makes it easier for grocery shopping, faster meal prep, better calorie awareness, less stress, improved consistency. So anytime we can put some systems that's going to make it easier for you or simplify it, it's always going to be a win. Because obviously, when you start getting into heavier recipes, it's going to take you more time at the grocery store and products and specific things that you need for those recipes. That's where it could get really time consuming. And you can simplify it and pull it down. Instead of 21 different meals each week, create three breakfast options that stay within your calorie ranges, and then obviously the protein, right? Three lunches, three dinners, and then rotate them. This is just a simple system that you can implement. And then when we think about it, it's like, okay, option one is, eggs and some oatmeal. And you can do toast. You don't necessarily have to have oats as well. Again, these are examples. Greek yogurt and berries, protein shake and fruit. And then you can obviously rotate these components. Same thing with lunch. Chicken, rice, veggies, turkey bowl, steak salad. So we can make it fairly simple and fairly easy to have options available that way we don't that having options available that are easy and simple that keep you on task. And then again, dinner, salmon, potato, chicken stir fry, lean burger bowl. Again, pulling out the bun and making it a little bit easier from a carbohydrate standpoint. And then you can add back in rice and things of that nature. And you guys hear me talk about this quite often, and I'll come back to it. If we can get you up around 80% consistency, typically we have enough uh, to get you from point A to point B, obviously. Uh, and then it gives you a little bit more flexibility, either 20%, less stress, more sustainability, better long-term results. Because again, if you always feel like it's restrictive and it's overwhelming, and it's not going to be sustainable. And typically you do have some flexibility if we're getting all the data points from you. That's the hardest part. I mean, nutritional tracking, there's just a degree of error, and that's the unfortunate component, but it's the reality. So we understand that. We've understood it from a long time, from coaching all these years. And we'd like to communicate that and give you guys a little bit more clarity. So here's some other ways to add variety. Again, we want you to have as much control as possible. You can change like the seasoning, and we do this quite often with our protein sources. The seasoning, sauce, obviously the vegetables, cooking methods as well. We do this with chicken because I mean, chicken's always been a part of our plan. And sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to eat chicken again. Well, you have to figure out, okay, can we change the seasoning? How are we going to cook it? Can we have different sauces, where you can manipulate that source, that protein source, where it's going to give you a variety of different taste. That way you're not getting burnt out on that protein source. So again, protein, calories, and structure of what that looks like. Because then you can use different proteins with different seasonings that make sense. So this is just an easy way, and we do this. And this has helped us over the years stay on track. And again, here's another, as far as flavoring strategy, taco season. These are just simple, and we have a lot of this stuff because again, we use some of these techniques personally. Taco seasoning, Italian seasoning, some type of herbs and spices. We have a drawer that we can choose. Some of them are for like grilling, obviously on the grill. Some of them are for different methods that you can add them to. Another one is there's a lot of sauces out there that are better, lower calories, better for you, lower sugar that you can purchase, and again, it's going to add a good amount of variety. And then salsa, mustard, things like that. You can add, obviously, they add flavor without adding a ton of calories. Again, great variety that fits your palate that makes sense for you. And then when we start thinking about the psychology of consistency, we are creatures of habit. I kind of said that earlier. So your brain loves the consistent patterns, even with like our rhythmic pattern of sleep, sleeping and getting up. So our body thrives when we have consistency. So same thing here. Habits become automatic through repetition. Again, less decision making, more compliance, obviously more compliance. equals better results. And then ideally, what will happen is this becomes what you do, just like brushing your teeth, right? You have your protein, you stay within your calorie ranges, you're health conscious on nutrition. So that's the habit component, the changes that ultimately will get you long-term success. So really the key takeaways is food boredom, and yeah, I've gotten questions about this. We don't need a ton of more variety. We just need a little bit. Um, because again, what I talked about earlier is if we have too many options, it's going to cause more stress. So we want some structure and have flexibility, both. The building the meals this way is just a simple way. It's basically meal prep, right? Um, Having better systems for you that fit your lifestyle is going to be key. Again, decision fatigue. Make it simple as possible. As it becomes what you do, then you can start making it more broad and adding more components in there. As long as you have the time and you don't feel like it's so cumbersome that it's going to cause more stress. We don't want more stress. We want you to have the ability to be have the flexibilities and you know win these opportunities with nutrition. So the action steps, you could pick, again, you can choose this and even choose one meal that makes sense for you guys. Pick three breakfast options that make sense for your family and you, and you can, start this, next week. Obviously, you can do it with lunch and dinner. And then you can do a rotational component, repeat for 2 weeks just by slightly changing, the components that I talked about as far as the protein, veggies, seasoning, sauces, how you prepare. And so that gives you a good amount of variety, but still trying to simplify the process where you don't have to go out and feel like you have to have a fancy recipe just to stay on track. That's kind of I know some of them are nice to have, but it's not a must. Um, Sometimes keeping it basic is a little bit easier than getting too complex. So I know this, and that was, I think, the last slide. Yep. I know this topic. Obviously, you guys had some of these components already. We just get the question, I need more options. I'm getting bored. We have to figure out, a way to change some of the components that you already are familiar with by, how you cooking it, what sauces you're using, what seasonings are you using, you know, what carbohydrates can you rotate through that are gonna, keep you on task, what proteins, what fits the palate of, you know, the ones around you as well. Specifically, if you're feeding multiple mouths, you don't want to make it complicated where everyone has to eat something different, that would be a disaster. Hopefully, you guys don't have to do that, but it's not always perfect here, right? So Erin does like to, get into recipes when she does have more time. So we'll cycle through that, but we have our foundational components here, and we actually do a lot of these components I just talked about. And now, on the weekends when we have a little bit more flexibility, Erin may choose one or two recipes that she wants to cook or try. Now, with feeding the other mouse, we try our best when you have an 8 to 9 year old to get them to eat, the food that we cook. Specifically, if Erin tries a new recipe or something like that, it's a challenge. It can be a challenge. Sometimes she does have to just keep the sauces and the spices minimal on their portion because, again, their palate. Anytime we change some of those things, they either say it's spicy or they're unfamiliar with the taste and they won't eat it. So we still go through that battle, but we try to get them to try different things. We try to always have the protein and carb, and some days are better than others. So with that said, I'm going to open it up and see if you guys have any questions for me and any specific, nutritional components. And it could be outside of obviously this topic I went through, and then I'll try to get out a new survey. Let you guys see if there's any other topics that I can address or we can have as a topic to talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up and see if you have anything for me. Any questions? I know this is pretty it's pretty straightforward, and it's just trying to simplify nutrition because many times we try to complicate nutrition too much. And then obviously you guys get bombarded with marketing ploy with nutrition. And I know they did that heavy with macro coaches and macro coaching. No questions?
No questions, but it's really helpful the idea of getting those few meals and just kind of mixing them up.
Yeah, I mean sometimes you just got to get simple concepts in place, so people don't feel overwhelmed. Again, that's why we got some of the reasons why we have access to a ton of meal plans. We've had them for years and years, and we've we really got away from trying to get clients to follow them because many times it's going to have stuff on there you're not going to eat or not want are unfamiliar with, and then if it's complicated to make, it just becomes another task you have to address. So yeah, I mean, we've Aaron and I, before kids, we would do this as well, um, because we were in the front side of building this business, and we would put long hours in at work, and we were not. I mean, we had the ability to warm things up in a fridge over at our location, but we would do like meal prep uh, in this style. That way, we had options and go-tos. Try to keep it simple and easy. Well, awesome. If you guys do have obviously other specific nutrition questions, never hesitate to reach out. Um, I'm back up and running. I don't know, 80%. That as far as how I feel and everything's great. It's just more my I didn't realize that the damage they were going to do to my right oblique to get to my lower lobe of my lung with my surgery. So, um, but I'm working through that. It'll take a couple weeks for me to get that thing healed up. But I'm doing well. So I appreciate all the checking in. Um, so what I'll do is I will send out a questionnaire. I'll probably try to get it out either tomorrow or Thursday. So we'll give you guys an opportunity to get me some more data points, some other topics that that we can go through. So, well, awesome. Well, if you guys have other specific questions on nutrition, never hesitate. I can help as well, and I know you guys communicate a lot of that stuff with Aaron, but never hesitate if there's other components. So, well, awesome. Well, you guys, appreciate you showing up and taking the information in. I'll kick out that survey, and then maybe we'll have some fresh information for next week. So, all right, you guys have a great day, and I will talk with you next week.